The Italian Alps are experiencing the deadliest avalanche cycle in over a decade, and it is happening 200 kilometers from the Winter Olympics. In the last 10 days, at least 75 people have died in avalanches across the Alps. That is 3/4 of what normally kills in an entire season. Over 250 people have been evacuated by helicopter from a single valley. A train has been knocked off its tracks. Villages have been cut off from the outside world, and the danger level has not dropped. But here is the detail that tells the real story. On Tuesday afternoon, skiers waiting in line at a chairlift in Valgrisench looked up and saw a wall of white descending from 3,773 meters. Children tried to ski uphill. Adults froze. Within seconds, every person in the frame disappeared into a cloud of snow. The footage went viral within hours, viewed millions of times. And the terrifying part is not the avalanche. It is the fact that just 2 days earlier, on that same mountain, 3 experienced skiers entered a couloir and never came out alive. To understand how the Aosta Valley arrived at this moment, you have to watch the week accelerate. On February 10th, Fondazione Montagna Sicura, Italy's Mountain Safety Institute, issued a bulletin declaring the snowpack had entered a critical phase. Fresh snowfall had been building since Tuesday, with accumulations forecast to exceed 1 meter above 1,600 meters. By February 11th, weather stations near Courmayeur recorded a staggering 100 centimeters of new snow in just 48 hours. On February 12th, the Regional Avalanche Bureau raised the danger to level 4 out of 5, officially classified as strong. Civil Protection issued an orange alert. Across the French border, Chamonix shut down every high-altitude ski area. The entire Paradisky resort, including La Plaine and Les Arcs, closed completely for the first time in 25 years. In Tignes, authorities ordered thousands of residents and tourists to stay indoors overnight. No one was allowed to leave their hotel. And then it got worse. On February 13th, a 44-year-old hotel worker from Milan was walking a snow-covered trail above Gresina-la-Trinite when the slope above him released without warning. He was swept under 1.5 meters of snow. In the seconds before the weight crushed his chest, he pulled out his phone and dialed the emergency line. Dispatchers heard 2 words before the line cut out: snow, avalanche. Rescue teams with avalanche dog units worked for 3 hours through unstable terrain before finding him. His body temperature had dropped to 27 degrees Celsius. He survived, but that same Friday, 3 skiers in Valdier did not. 2 were British, 1 was French. All died under a snowpack that had been rated level 5, the maximum on the European scale, just 24 hours earlier. Here is the problem that is not making headlines. The Western Italian Alps, the region surrounding Mont Blanc, do not sit on stable rock. The Aosta Valley is ringed by 4 of the highest massifs in Europe: Gran Paradiso, Mont Blanc, Grandes Jorasses, and the Matterhorn. When northwesterly winds hit these peaks, they transport enormous volumes of snow over ridgelines and deposit it on leeward slopes, creating what avalanche scientists call wind slabs. These slabs are the loaded chambers of the mountain. They sit on top of older, weaker snow layers that formed weeks earlier, layers of fragile crystals that can fracture across hundreds of meters when disturbed. Federico Catania, spokesperson for Italy's Alpine Rescue Corps, told the Associated Press that the core problem is persistent weak layers in the snowpack, often covered by fresh snow or wind. He said the dangerous points are many and difficult to identify, even for an expert. A single skier's weight can be enough to trigger a catastrophic release. But that was only half the problem. The Milan Cortina Winter Olympics opened on February 6th. Tens of thousands of visitors flooded the Italian Alps during the worst snowpack conditions in years. Catania warned reporters that the snowstorms have attracted adventure seekers eager to take advantage of fresh slopes, and that as a result, the number of accidents and fatalities has increased proportionally. 2 forces were tightening around the Aosta Valley at the same time. The mountains were becoming more dangerous, and the mountains were becoming more crowded. On Sunday, February 15th, at approximately 11 in the morning, the collision arrived. 3 friends from Chamonix, all experienced freeriders, entered the couloir d'Essies in Valveny, above Courmayeur. It is one of the most popular off-piste routes at the foot of Mont Blanc, and it was rated level 4. Eyewitnesses at the base of the gully saw the moments before the slope released. Hugo Neuville, 31, was found lifeless in the snow. A second skier died at the hospital in Aosta despite resuscitation. The third, Alexis Rezaf, 29, was buried for 40 minutes before being airlifted to the hospital in Turin. He fought for a day. He did not survive. 15 rescuers, 3K, 9 units, and 2 helicopters worked the site. All 3 men, Hugo Neuville, Quentin Phipps, and Alexis Rezaf, were friends from France's Savoy region. They knew the mountain. The mountain did not care. And this is where it gets worse. The avalanches did not stop after the deaths. They accelerated. On the afternoon of the 15th, a slide buried Regional Road 24 in the Rems Valley. Villages were cut off. On February 16th, an avalanche in Switzerland derailed a passenger train near Goppenstein. 29 people were on board. 5 were injured. The rail line through the Lochberg corridor, a critical north-south alpine link, was shut down. On February 17th, in Lothwile, roughly 100 tourists had come to the village of Rems Notre Dame at the foot of the Grand Paradiso for a day of skiing. In the early afternoon, a massive avalanche buried the only road out. Helicopters began shuttling evacuees to the sports center at Prix Saint-Didier. The total reached 250 people airlifted from Single Valley. 30 who could not return home that night slept at the barracks in Aosta. 3 dead. 250 evacuated. 13 killed in a single week earlier this month, a record. Snow depth exceeding 3 meters in the upper valleys. And approximately 75 avalanche deaths across the Alps this winter, against an annual average of 100, with the season only half over. The official Aosta Valley Avalanche Bulletin published today, February 18th, rates the danger at level 4. The tendency is listed in one word: constant. More snow is forecast over the next 48 hours, and forecasters have identified another threat moving in. A midweek warming trend could send melt water into those same weak layers, triggering a new type of release: wet snow avalanches, which carry more mass and travel farther. The Guardia di Finanza is still investigating whether the fatal slide in the Courmayeur de Esses was triggered by the skiers or released naturally. The red zone boundaries in the Rems Valley could still shift, and the paradox that keeps avalanche professionals awake at night is approaching. When a danger level eventually drops from 4 to 3, the period statistically responsible for the most deaths, skiers will flood back on slopes they believe are safe. The snowpack will still be hiding its weakest layers beneath a surface that looks stable. How many more villages sit at the end of a single road that one avalanche can erase? How do you tell 250 people airlifted from their holiday that the mountain beneath them has not finished moving? And if 75 people have already died this winter, and the season is only half over, and the snowpack is still hiding fractures that no expert can see, who is counting the ones that have not fallen yet? In the Aosta Valley, they recovered everyone from the snow this time. The question no one can answer is whether the snow is finished with them.